Howdy folks, and welcome back to Constantine's adventure. Last we left her, she had set up camp after assassinating a Silverhand leader. We catch back up with her right as she's about to head to sleep for a quick nap. Constantine wakes up and is nice and rejuvenated. Her first thoughts were to go check out the Mage Fortress, but decided against it for now. Her main goal right now is to return to Ayla. Thankfully, she camped out pretty close to a main road, and this should take her straight back to Whiterun. A quick breakfast later, when a courier appears. She'll never get used to them appearing, but this time, he's got two letters for her. One is generic, but the other one is personalized specifically for her. Someone appears to be looking for her. She looks at both letters. One is about a museum opening in Dawnstar. She'll come back to that one in a moment. She has a few opinions on the matter. The second one is the interesting one, though. It appears someone's looking for her in the Bannered Mare in Whiterun. Seeing as how that's where she's currently headed, she's gonna stop in and see what they have to say. At most, it's a job. At least, she wastes a couple minutes of her time. As she looks at her map, she realizes really how close she is to Whiterun, and she hopes that the walk back should be uneventful. She's traveled this road a few times now in the recent past, and at this point she's pretty sure there shouldn't be any bandits, or at least they shouldn't have had time to repopulate. There might be a wolf or two, but nothing she wouldn't be able to handle quickly. As she walks back, she thinks about that museum pamphlet she got. Apparently, it's in a place called Dawnstar, and it has to do with some cult called the Mythic Dawn. She's sure she's heard of that cult somewhere in some of the books she's read. More annoyingly, though, it's the fact that it's just another museum. Arian and her are currently in the process of creating a massive museum for all of Skyrim, and probably the best one in all of Tamriel. She can't let some upstart try and steal that thunder. Maybe after she speaks with Ayla, she'll take a wagon ride down to Dawnstar and take a look at the museum. Get a sense of the curator, and if possible, maybe relocate a few of the artifacts. She smiles to herself as she thinks that Arian probably wouldn't want that, but he doesn't need to know where the stuff came from. She was glad, though, that she was right about the bandits. As she passed by Valtheim Towers, there isn't a peep from anyone. Bandits will return at some point when another group spots the empty towers, but for now, honestly, she's just glad the road is safe. Nothing exciting happened on the rest of her walk back, but she does choose to stop by the museum drop-off point and take all the items she had on her and Ulf and send those on their way. Honestly, she needs to revisit the museum again and put those displays up. It's gotta be getting pretty full. With that completed, she has a laundry list of tasks that she needs to get done before she goes and talks with Ayla. There's disenchanting, selling items, and getting more arrows, seeing as how most of them are now currently in a dwarven automaton. As she enters the city, her reflexes immediately take over as she sees a cold-blooded murder take place right in front of her. She was not able to stop the death, but she was able to avenge it. She didn't really have any reason to fight the assassin, and about midway through, she honestly thought that maybe they could lead her to the Dark Brotherhood. That being the case, though, once she slew the individual, they didn't seem to have a contract on him. This meant he either wasn't part of the Dark Brotherhood, or was just some very new recruit. Either way, they wouldn't have been useful to her. She also rationalized that if the guards had seen her talking to someone that literally just committed murder, it wouldn't look too good for her reputation anyways. Having lost a majority of her orcish arrows, Constantine needed to resupply, and resupplied pretty badly. She didn't have many materials for orcish arrows, so instead she chose to create Royal Elven arrows. Now, the name's a bit of a misnomer, as they're actually a type of steel arrow. Constantine learned to work, craft, and form the steel in a different way to make the arrows hit a lot stronger and a lot harder. Until she has a better understanding of ebony, she thinks these are going to be her main go-to arrows, as they're cheaper to create than orcish, and from her understanding, actually will hit harder. Her errands continue, and she heads to Belethor's to sell off a few trinkets. But, interestingly enough, he actually has a request for her. Apparently, Belethor's whole bit about selling a sister wasn't just a bit. He straight up sold his sister to a woman named Yolanda, and he's hoping to get her back. Constantine was stunned. What do you even say in that situation? She was also pissed. Selling your family for a few coins is incredibly messed up, and while Belethor is good for it when it comes to selling, she was never going to buy from him again until she got to the bottom of this. She breathed in, breathed out, and then agreed to go look for the sister. Yolanda was going to be the first point of contact and hoped that, she would have the sister. After sucking down the urge not to punch Belethor in his stupid face, she leaves and heads up to Dragon's Reach to, again, use the enchantment table. She had picked up a weapon with an interesting enchant that she wanted to learn and to place on her bow. If Constantine understood the enchantment correctly, what it's going to do is increase the potency of the poisons she places on the arrows. Since she wants to learn more about creating some of those toxic substances possible, an enchantment like this would be incredibly useful for her.
I was told there was something about my past here.
Having completed all the tasks she wanted to get done, she finally headed back to Jorrvaskr to speak with Ayla and hoping to get herself a new target. While Ayla was definitely impressed with Constantine's fervor and desire to kill the Silver Hand, she does let us know that apparently Kodlack would like to speak with us. Now, Ayla assumes it has to do with the very reasonable revenge killings we've been participating in, but she does make it very clear to be honest with Kodlack, but not overshare. Constantine agrees to speak with him, but doesn't seem like she had much of a choice. Constantine goes to speak with Kodlack, who she's only had a couple of brief encounters with, but she respects the man. He carries himself with dignity and humility, but if she were ever to get in a fight with him, she'd most likely be on the back foot the whole time. Kodlack first reprimands Constantine and Ayla for the Silver Hand Purge. He agrees revenge was necessary in some regard, but that she has spilt too much blood. She silently nods her head, but internally disagrees. The best way to beat someone is to make sure that they just can't get back up.
In any case, I have a task for you. Have you heard the story of how we came to be werewolves?
He switches subjects and asks for some help. He explains that the companions being werewolves has only been a semi-recent problem. By recent, he means a couple hundred years, though, so questionable statement. Anyways, he wants to finally break the curse and has found a way to do it. He's requesting Constantine go to the lair of the Glenmorrow Witches' Coven and slaughter them, taking their heads. Kodlack believes they hold the secret to curing the lycanthropy problem. Constantine, not wanting to disappoint, of course, agrees, although she also wants to get rid of her lycanthropy. Her dreams have become vicious, bloody, and without control. She worries she'll lose control and succumb to being a werewolf eternally if she's not careful.
We'll get to that. It's not so simple as just killing them. The disease, you see, affects not just our bodies, it seeps into the spirit. Upon death, werewolves are claimed by Hircine for his hunting grounds. For some, this is a paradise. They want nothing more than to chase prey with their master for eternity. And that is their choice. But I am still a true Nord, and I wish for Sovngarde as my spirit home. That's what I've spent my twilight years trying to find out. And now I've found the answer. The witches' magic ensnared us, and only their magic can release us. They won't give it willingly, but we can extract their foul powers by force. I want you to seek them out. Go to their coven in the wilderness. Strike them down as a true warrior of the wild. And bring me their heads, the seat of their abilities. From there, we may begin to undo centuries of impurity. Good. Now move quickly, and don't leave any of them alive. Talos guide you, lass.
She appreciated listening to him speak. He has a way of convincing her that this cure may actually work, whether she believes it or not. It all seems too coincidental, too easy. But at the same time, she imagines he's been looking into this for years and contacting all manner of mages, so who is she to say that it might not work? She'll go slaughter some witches.
I was the newest companion until you came along.
Before slaughtering some witches, though, Constantine has a couple more errands she wants to run and people she needs to talk to in Whiterun. If the witches have been around for as long as Kodlack says, he could wait a little longer. She assumes he isn't going anywhere. First, she wants to find the person that contacted her via mysterious note, the one that came along with the Dawnstar Museum pamphlet. It told her to meet her at the Bannered Mare, though no indication as to who she was actually supposed to be looking for. Constantine first speaks with Hulda, but she got no information from her regarding anybody mentioning they were looking for her.
Have you seen
All the
that
rumors
shrine
she
of
had
Asura?
also were just
They say the dark
completely
elves speak it
useless,
after they
as
fled from
Constantine
Whiterun.
was hoping
Sight to
Hulda may
see.
have picked something
you
up
saw the
about the Dark
Gildery,
Brotherhood.
big
I mean, they are a
tree
literal
overhung
group
in
of
the middle of the
assassins.
Wind District.
You would think at some point
part of the
a tavern
Temple
owner
of
would
Kinneret.
hear
People want
something,
Tannika to do something about
but
it, but
no,
I don't know what
Hulda
they
seems to
expect.
have no information. After that, and several other failed leads, she's confused as to where the
You're here.
contact is,
I was the
and
one who
just
sent you
walks
the note.
upstairs
My name is
when she's
Niranor,
called
and
up by
I
a
need your
high
help.
elf sitting on a chair.
This may sound strange,
Her
but
name
I
is
need you to steal a
Niranor, and
painting
she
from
has
the
an
Thalmor
absolutely
headquarters in Solitude.
wild request for Constantine.
I am a fugitive
So
on the
first
run
off,
from
she
the
wants
Thalmor,
Constantine to
and
steal a
stealing this
painting of
painting
her
may
from
be
the
the only way
Thalmor.
to stop them.
Apparently, she is a fugitive, and this painting is all they have to track
would
her
you like to know?
visually. Now, this isn't easy enough
The painting
ask,
is a portrait of me.
except for
My
the fact
parents
that she
commissioned
wants
the piece after my
Constantine to
induction into the
literally
Welkin
sneak into the
Knights. It was my
Thalmor embassy
proudest moment.
to retrieve the
The
painting.
Thalmor must have taken it when they
Constantine
raided my
choked on
family
her drink
residence back
laughing
in
before
Alenor.
realizing she was being deadly serious.
This is the only recent painting of me. Without it, there may be no other means to identify me on this side of Tamriel. Though it may not be a foolproof plan, stealing the painting could impede the Thalmor's pursuit of me, and might even lead to them losing track of my whereabouts.
She thinks it over.
Thank you. I'll wait for
And
your
after a little
successful
bit,
return
she
here
agrees.
at the Bannered
She makes
Mare.
it known, though, that this is not a simple robbery, and it may take some time. She admittedly had no idea how to get into the Thalmor embassy, but that's not a problem she needs to worry about at this moment. What's important is she has the job and... Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that Ysolda? It absolutely was. Constantine looks frantically around for her as she remembers that was who
Once I make
Bellathor
enough
sold
money
his
trading
sister
with the
to.
Khajiit caravans, I'm going to buy the Bannered Mare from Hulda.
Ysolda
Ah,
claims
yes.
the sister is
That was
no
quite a
longer
while
working
ago.
for her,
She's no longer
which is a
working for me.
funny way to say
I
sold
told
into
her
slavery.
she should go see the world,
Maybe.
try new things, explore new avenues of career growth, step outside of her comfort zone. Yes, to Madran, one of the Khajiit caravaneers.
And she went
for valuable
on and
business
on
insight
about
regarding
wanting
the
to
servants
help
she
her and for her to see the world and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, turns out Ysolda just sold her to the Khajiit caravan. So now Ysolda's on Constantine's hit list if it turns out that the sister was abused at any point.
You tried mercenary?
Constantine still wasn't quite done with the city. She remembered the priest of Arkay asking her to get his amulet, but that the dead had started to walk. She decided to go quickly and get it for him because she wanted to know just what was so special about this specific amulet of Arkay. She first went to speak to one of the other priestesses to see if they had any information. She
Guards
didn't,
have
but she
been
did hear some
travelers
funny
to watch
rumors.
The skies. In the past 2 weeks, 2 separate adventurers have been felled by mudcrabs. A summoner attempted to conjure up one of the guards a warm bed. They both burned to death.
Whether those rumors were true or not, Constantine wasn't going to think about it. She did assume that Anders was in bed, so she wouldn't wake him for now, and she went into the crypt. Upon entering, she was immediately waylaid by Draugr. Anders was right about the dead rising up, though there's usually some level of a reason for it, whether it's a malevolent force or a necromancer. That being the case, though, she wasn't paid for that. She was just paid to find an amulet. And so, she continues walking through the Hall of the Dead, looking for this alleged special amulet of Arche. Depending on how strong or unique it is, she might offer some level of a trade and ask if she could place it in the museum. Or she could just rob him. Arian seems to follow the "if you don't tell me where it comes from, I won't ask" approach to museum acquisitions. The dead weren't particularly strong either, so whatever was awakening them was either just weak for one reason or another, or the actual magic being used wasn't a very high-level spell. Either way, Constantine appreciated it, as it made her job that much easier. What she wasn't expecting, though, was the reanimation of some of the dead. Not all of them, but some of them would go down and then reconstitute themselves. It's a level of raised dead she'd never seen before. As she continues through the Hall of the Dead, she came across an interesting trapdoor that was locked. A locked trapdoor inside the Hall of the Dead is just an invitation for Constantine. Okay, first, she'll return the amulet, then she'll see what's hidden in Whiterun's Hall of the Dead. Having killed the last two skeletons, she finds the amulet of Arche. Though before she's able to pick it up, one of the skeletons resurrects themselves, but this time she was actually expecting that. She puts it down real nice and quick, grabs the amulet, and heads out. Now that she's out of the Hall of the Dead, she wants to take a look at the Amulet of Anders. It's just a standard Amulet of Arche. Seriously? Guy had Constantine go into a Crypt of the Undead to get an Amulet of Arche she could have just bought off any merchant. She was planning to wait till the day to give it back to him, but you know what? He could deal with being woken up in the middle of the night to receive his standard, not at all special amulet. She did find a relatively cool-looking dagger and took that as a second payment. It'll look good in the museum, so at least she's not walking away empty-handed. After snooping around for a little bit, she heads back into the Hall of the Dead. There's a locked door, of course, just waiting to be opened. Who knows what treasures lie in wait? What also makes it interesting is the priests and priestesses made no mention about it, nor did they specifically say, "Don't go looking." So this would lead Constantine to believe she's either about to step into a storeroom, or they don't know this place exists. At first, it absolutely looked like just a storeroom, or, I don't know, maybe a sewer entrance. But she does note the grated door and walks through, only to find a massive crypt with Draugr lining the walls. There is a whole crypt under the Hall of the Dead. She's dealt with enough undead to know that some of these are actually animate and waiting to attack. She pulls out her bow and starts unceremoniously waking them from their slumber. These aren't particularly difficult Draugr, which leads Constantine to believe that maybe whatever was affecting the Hall of the Dead above originates from this room. She also wondered how a whole crypt like this, that's massive, was built underneath the Hall of the Dead above. Unless the hall was built over top it, and this crypt has simply faded into obscurity over time. With the last of the Draugr sent back to sleep, and a few cautionary arrows used just in case, there is another grated door though, and this one appears to have a lever nearby. As she enters a secluded room, a coffin door pops open with a body falling out. But it doesn't move until— oh my god, it does! It's a dragon priest! Oh shit! Constantine had read about these individuals in several of her books. They were around a long, long time ago. And most, if not all, the priests were able to reach lichdom. Liches are dangerous. She had also read somewhere that the most powerful were granted special masks, but at least looking at this one, it appears they didn't have one. Not that it mattered, of course, because their lightning attacks hurt. Once the priest had gotten its bearings, it immediately focused fire on Constantine, dealing a huge amount of damage. Thankfully, she was able to roll out of the lethal damage, but she was still in pain. She quickly downed a few potions to help her out, and she got ready for what was going to be a long fight. She had no real idea on how liches actually worked or how they became liches at all, but she assumed if her arrows could pierce it, it could die. And to her elation, she was right. She saw her arrows causing pain, or at least the closest equivalent to it. This is what she needed. With Ulf pulling his weight, she was able to slowly whittle down the priest's health. The more important thing, though, was that she needed to keep dodging the lightning blasts. If she was touched by even one of them full force, she would have been fried to a crisp and killed. And with a final arrow, the priest disintegrates into a pile of dust. This must have been the cause of whatever was happening in the Hall of the Dead. Here we had a semi-powerful lich just waiting to be released, and all around them they were, being protected by Draugr. It makes sense, but still it doesn't really answer the key issue of how did nobody above know that this was even here. Constantine realizes she wasn't paid for the job, but she knows that she just protected the city from something that could have turned apocalyptic. She finds a poem written about the Lich. Seems its name was Yashe or Jashe. Again, it wasn't wearing a mask, so it wasn't one of the more powerful Liches, but knowing that she found one underneath Whiterun of all places, she has to be careful while she dives into more dungeons and crypts. She has no idea how many more priests there are and how many of them became liches in the end. Now, Constantine was a little disappointed with the loot that she found. This leads her to believe, though, that the priest was buried here not out of some respect for who they were in life, but as a place for resurrection, getting them ready for something, whatever the plan might be. It doesn't really matter, she was able to foil it. Constantine was tired, and it was late. She decided it was best to return to Jorrvaskr and turn in for the night. She needed to head out to the Glenmorrow Witches' Coven in the morning to help out Kodlack with his plan. As she was heading to bed, she realized she knew very little about the witches outside of what Kodlack had told her, and maybe that was on purpose. She also wanted to head by Jorlin's and turn in a few more dwarven metal ingots for some smithing training. He said he was going to help her understand the difference in folding techniques of ebony and how it can work with other steel ingots. Having woken up, it was now time to head up to Jorlin's. She could feel herself getting the hang of the metalworking, but these folding techniques are hard. Ebony seems to have a tendency to crack and break if folded improperly, basically ruining whatever it was you were making. Having finished up everything she needed to in Whiterun, it was now time to head to the Witches of Glenmorrow Coven. Now, Kodlack thankfully marked on the map where he believed the coven was hiding. It was a bit west of Falkreath, so Constantine decided it was probably best to just take the carriage down to Falkreath and then make her way by foot to the coven. She hadn't been back to Falkreath in a while, and she may stop by the town to get more lumber sent to her property, and so she can go and drop off a few supplies. Her plan now chosen, she found the stagecoach driver to take her to Falkreath. From there, it should just be a nice quick run over to the coven's cave.
Climb and back, and we'll be off. Get up there.
As she gets off the stagecoach, a chill runs down her spine. She's not sure why, but something feels off. She's concerned it might be her wolf blood trying to take over again. Maybe. Or it could be something larger, something affecting the whole world. Either way, she's unsure and dislikes the feeling. It is good to be back in the fresh air of Falkreath. She loves Whiterun, but she just can't beat the open nature and woods around Falkreath. She's not sure what she's going to do once she reaches the Coven, but Kodlack made it very clear, wipe them all out. So, she's gonna listen and do exactly that. As she was approaching a fork in the road, she suddenly saw a man very clearly in Vigilant of Stendarr robes charge at her with the intent to kill. She quickly puts him down with 2 arrows when an armored skeleton comes at her from the right. It looked like the vigilante was attacking her, and she quickly put him down, but maybe he had seen the skeleton behind her. She checks his body and finds a note stating that she, Constantine, was an abomination and needed to be killed. Alright, well, that answered that question easily. Now she needs to watch out for the Vigilance of Stendarr. But it doesn't answer where the skeletons came from. Now, she had guessed that the skeleton came from her right, and so she went up the hill, only to come face to face with an inn and another skeleton. She puts the skeleton down pretty easily, and the inn sign says, Inn of the Lost Souls. She enters very curiously. The inn looks pretty standard, nothing out of the ordinary, but there feels something wrong about it. Completely just wrong, but she can't place why. Maybe it's the fact that it seems to have just appeared here, or that she couldn't actually see anyone except for one person in a bed. She shakes her head to get rid of the thoughts and goes to speak with the keeper.
Name's Rigmar.
The keep's name is Rigmar, and immediately, Constantine gets a bad feeling about the guy. The sort of feeling you get when you think you've just entered a trap.
The inn?
He's incredibly calm, but also says a lot of words with no meaning. Claims the inn just sort of appears, because it does that. Constantine feels with every bone in her body she needs to leave this place. She explores the inn even more, even though Ulf is causing a ruckus. Even he knows something's wrong. She finds a locked cellar, and finally, she's snapped to her senses and doesn't touch the door. She wanted to. Every fiber in her body told her to, but she was able to snap out of it. As she's making to leave, the only other patron wakes up. Curious as to who would sleep in a place like this, Constantine waits. And then she sees his eyes, the telltale orange glow of a vampire. There's a vampire casually hanging out in this inn. She tries to speak to him, but he refuses to communicate. Should she kill him? He doesn't seem to be causing any harm, but also he's a vampire. There's no bounty that she was aware of, and she just decided to leave. This place was unnerving, and she just needed to get gone. Truly, what a strange interaction, she thought to herself as she left the inn and would later cross a bridge where a courier was waiting for her. He had a letter. Shocker. But it was what was written that got her attention.
Looks like that's it. Got to go.
The letter claimed she had run away, and what sort of hero runs away? But that whoever sent this also needed help. Pretty weird way to get her attention, but she has no idea who even sent it. It wasn't signed. Also, she's never claimed to be a hero, ever. It's just something a few people have started to say in passing due to her relation to the companions. Still intrigued, though, she would look into this mystery writer when she was in Falkreath next. While traveling, she heard some commotion. She drew her bow and saw someone in a black robe attacking something, though she couldn't make it out. To her credit, Constantine did wait to see if the person was aggressive before shooting them, and she's glad she did, though it was a witch, most likely looking for something to experiment on. But it was the vigilance of Stendarr that caught her attention. She saw them way before they saw her, and she fired shot after shot. She was not going to mess around with them, especially after she saw the edict on the previous vigilante. 2 were killed, but the other seemed to take the hit and go to the ground. Constantine knew better than to try to kill him, as he was most likely protecting himself with some sort of magic that she wasn't aware of, and it was easier to observe before killing, rather than sinking arrow after arrow. She moved a distance to disengage and then walked back on them as if she had appeared. The last standing vigilante didn't seem to care about her, or, for that matter, that his companions were now dead. This leads her to one of 2 conclusions. He's either a terrible human being who doesn't care, or, and the more plausible one, he knew exactly what happened and is making the active decision to not engage with Constantine. She wonders if there are different sects within the Vigilantes of Stendarr, because the 2 dead had no such edict on them about her. She may have just killed them proactively when it wasn't needed. She continues to travel when she comes across a man in active pain on a tree stump. He seemed harmless enough, and he called out to her. If this is a trap, he's gone through serious trouble to make it look legitimate. He says he was with his hunting party and had tracked a bear to this cave, and when they went into it, they were all killed by a bunch of Spriggans. Well, except him. He's the only survivor.
We had the big sow cornered when they showed up. 3 of them, out of nowhere. Spriggans. Niels went down before we even knew to run. Ari died just inside. I never even thought the things were real. I may have lost a drop or 2 of blood. Truth is, I'm not going anywhere like this. Hurts to breathe.
He asked if she has anything to help him heal, and Constantine, looking at the state of him, clearly can tell that if he is not attended to, he will die.
Better, thanks, friend.
She hands him a health potion, and that seems to help for the most part.
But now what?
He then notes that he's not really sure what to do now. Now, Spriggans have taproot, which is an expensive alchemical ingredient, so Constantine offers to enter the cave with the man and wipe them all out.
I don't know what to say.
She reasons that if this is a trap, then she's more gullible than she thought, and it'll be a learning experience for her. All thoughts of a trap evaporate when she sees the Spriggan. No person outside of a druid would be stupid enough to try to use a Spriggan for a trap, and this man, Baldur, did not look like any druid she'd come across. She also noted the body of one of his companions on the ground, giving more credence to his story. She breathes a little sigh of relief, glad to know that she had, in fact, not walked into a trap. She came across this ancient chest, and upon opening it, she found an armor that she'd never seen before. It didn't fit her, but a mark on it said Hylian. She'd never heard of a Hylian in Nirn and wonders how it even got here, but she imagines it could be a great addition for Arian and the museum. She turns to Ulf to put away in his little pocket dimension as she was starting to feel a tad bit overencumbered. This is definitely a Spriggan cave. You can tell because of all the trees and the nature. How Valder and his group thought otherwise, or even believed they didn't exist, is completely beyond her. She keeps going on, though, taking out each Spriggan until none are remaining, and Valder can finally find his peace and bury his comrades.
It's done then.
As a reward, he gives her a very interesting looking dagger.
I want you to have
She had honestly done this for the free taproot, but was not going to turn down more loot. You know, that's just rude.
I always said it brought her luck. You should be the one to carry it now. I'll give them a proper burial, then head back. Come find me if you're ever in Falkreath. You'll always be welcome at my door.
She bids farewell to Valder and heads out to continue her approach to the Witch's Coven. When she left the cave, she noticed a fire and a tent. Cautious but interested, she approaches. When she gets close, the whole place is abandoned. She looks around some, trying to look for any sign of life or something. She finds nothing, and then turns around and decides to look into the shed. This is where things got interesting. Inside the shed, there was a carpenter's table, build table, and barrels for items. Looking over the plans, it seemed that this was to be a new town called Fellberg, but whoever the original people were abandoned the site. There are plans for taverns, blacksmiths, even a noble's house. Constantine smiled to herself. It seemed this place was abandoned and up for taking. And what better place to call her own than to build her own town? It would take a lot of materials and effort, but if she was able to do it, she would have her complete own town and would be one of the best bases of operations she could ever ask for. She saw no name on the plan, so she signed hers next to all of the paperwork. This would hopefully make it seem that anybody else who wandered across here would assume that the plot of land was accounted for. She would have to find the original people who set this up and quietly eliminate them lest they come back. With her plan in motion and having woken up, she was going to keep Fellberg in the back of her mind, but for now she really needed to just head to the Witch's Cave. Thankfully, it was pretty close by, and now that she intended to be the ruler of a town, she would have to get rid of the threat for good, because, you know, she had to care for her people. A quick breakfast and jaunt up the mountain leads her right to the cave. Here, she will obtain the heads of all the witches. None of them will be left standing. When she enters, she wasn't exactly sure what she was expecting, but somehow a bleak, musty, dank cave is exactly what she expected. She snuck up on the first witch and realized it was a coven of hag-ravens, not humans. She would make sure not a single one of them would see her coming. The first witch fell, and Constantine took out the rest of its minions. She approached the body and cut the head clean off. She could, of course, return to Kodlack, but that wasn't the request that the old man made. So instead, With all the witches dead and all the heads collected, she was feeling pretty good about herself. She made sure that none of them knew what had happened till it was too late. Now, she just needed to return to Falkreath and take a stagecoach to Whiterun. Well, she traded the damp cave for the rain, which was just so great. Such a fan. Maybe she'd rest at the inn before heading back. She really, really just wanted to get out of the rain. Her sprint back to Falkreath was completely uneventful outside of her being just totally soaked through her armor. The guard had the right idea of hanging out underneath the gate. At least this way he wouldn't get wet. She grabs the items Ulf had been holding for her as she was about to start sending stuff off to Aryan, but in the rain, she went to the wrong boxes first.
You're someone who can get things done. I like that.
After an old man shouted that there was a plot against him, something she had no time for right now, a thing approached her. It looked like an automaton, but also not. This had to be the thing that had written the letter to her. It had the same weird manner of speaking as it did in the writing, and it just went on and on. It made no real sense and just sort of creeped Constantine out.
It's what you do. Someone's in danger. All my friends are in danger. Will be in danger. Whichever. You find the danger, you stop the danger, you get treasure. Simple, easy. Well, not really, though. Someone always wants you to fetch something random. Yes! No. Maybe. Hard to explain. Not my area. Too broken. Too many mechanisms, mostly unmoving. Can take you down, though. Introduce you to the team.
She has no idea what this thing is going on about. It's something about going to see a team to save people, but they aren't in danger yet? The automaton thing speaks in riddles, or it's just plain mad. Constantine just keeps trying her best to walk away, but it won't stop talking to her.
Could use a gate, but I broke that. No, your way is Stonehole Mine. Nice place. Has a contingency. It's right there on your little map. Very nice map, too. But I talk too much. Go to Stonehole Mine. Go deep. Find the way to our little town. Take me with you.
It finally asked to accompany Constantine, who just said no and backs away. Of course, that would have been too easy, as the thing started following her. Constantine relents and agrees to help, if only to get the thing to stop talking. But again, that would have made things too easy. No, see, apparently the automaton thing said we had to take it with her. This made absolutely no sense to Constantine, and it keeps going on about taking it with her. What?
Yes, perfect. Not really. Not from me. Just take the part that glows. You'll see.
And then it just dies, telling Constantine to pick up the glowing item. This item is apparently the entity, so now she has a talking, glowing object in her backpack.
See? Much better. Take a fabricant, stop his time. If his numina's intact, he'll be fine. Just the real me here. Just the numina. easier this way. No waiting up for me, no me getting stuck in walls. That happens a lot for some reason. But we're wasting time, really. Go to Stonehole Mine, little place near Dawnstar. Old, abandoned, third era, very nice. Southwest of Dawnstar. Go!
This day just keeps getting weirder and weirder for Constantine.
Finger in no time.
She needs a long break, and decides Kodlack can wait another day for his witch heads. After speaking with the tavern keeper, she also decides she needs to study a little bit more. She's about halfway through understanding the dragon skin spell, and she hopes she'll be able to get through the rest of it tonight. She gets herself a room and plans to read for about 8 hours.
Look alive, will ya? Yes, Mom.
To her elation, she actually was able to finish the book and now understands how the spell operates. She's excited to test it out with Octa's recital. Even nicer is that she was then offered some food as she finished the book. She accepted and then passed out. Studying is incredibly hard work. She wakes up and heads out. Originally, she was planning to go to her property and get a few things squared away, probably start building a couple more wings to the house. But at this point, she's been gone from Jorrvaskr just a bit too long, and she wants to get these heads to Kodlack. She also wants to start the process of getting rid of her lycanthropy. Regarding the heads, what's fascinating to her is they are not rotting at all. Completely. They have not started rotting. She has a feeling it has to do with the magical properties they have, but she's pretty impressed. Before she hits the road, though, she does want to make sure she's got her new protection spell set up. First, what she has to do is she has to reset Octa's recital. And then, it's as easy as casting it a second time with dragon skin in her second hand. Hopefully, if all things go well, the next time she's in battle, dragon skin will be cast instead of oak skin, giving her much more protection. And with that, she pays the coachman and is off to Whiterun.
Oh, steady.
She arrives back in Whiterun around twilight. Now, admittedly, this is probably not the best time to arrive and deliver heads, but now's as good a time as any. She makes her way back into the city with her head held high, happy that she was able to help out Kodlack. It wasn't until she got back to Jorrvaskr that she noted something was very wrong. Ayla and another companion were outside with dead bodies strewn around them. What happened here? She goes to Torvar first, who said the Silver Hand had attacked. And while they had killed most of them, a few ran off.
Something has shifted.
Shit. She'd been here a few days earlier. She would have been here to repel the attack. She speaks with Ayla next, who's still very much in a blood frenzy.
I think our potential is on the rise.
This was a recent attack. She probably missed it by a couple hours. If she had just been here a little earlier.
The greater our prowess will grow. We could perhaps discover even more gifts of her scene.
These two aren't a problem anymore.
She heads into Jorrvaskr, where the worst was set before her eyes. She didn't hear Vilkas at first because she already saw the body, but snapped back when he asked where she had been. She told him the truth about what she was doing with the witches. The Silver Hand had attacked, and in the battle, Kodlack was killed. She felt the blood rush to her face in the tips of her ears in anger.
We fought them off.
Not only did they kill Kodlack, they stole the fragments of Whiterun, some of the prized possessions of the companions. No. This would not stand. They would die. Every single one of them. The Silver Hand as a group would cease to exist. She and Vilkas would make sure of it. She was pissed and angry and felt the wolf inside wanting to break free.
We will avenge Kodlack.
She had to control it. Not everyone here was a werewolf after all, but oh, did she want blood. And she would get it. She would desecrate every single Silver Hand body, and if somehow any of them made it out alive, she would track them to the ends of the world. Attacking Jorvaskr and stealing is one thing, but Kodlack was a good man, and all he wanted to do was go to Sovngarde, and they just ripped that from him. No. This is not going to stand.
I ain't done nothing.
How can I help you?
As she and Vilkas were making to leave, the guard captain came running up to them. Whiterun was now under attack from a bandit raid. He offered them a reward if they had helped. And to be fair, Constantine would have helped even if a reward wasn't given, because she wanted to spill blood. She was angry, and now she had a target to direct it at. She and Vilkas agreed to go help and defend the city.
Follow me. My men and the other able fighters will be gathering outside the gate. Everyone, keep yourselves safe! Everyone, to your houses, now! We are under attack! To your houses, quickly!
With every step, she felt the blood pump through her. These bandits were not responsible for Kodlack's death. This she knew. But she just didn't care. It was blind fury that made her take the path she did. She hurt her ankle on the way down, but again, she just didn't care. She couldn't see the attackers yet, though. She wondered how many of them there would be.
Heard what you did, killing those foul witches.
And then, in the distance, the first light of magic being cast. Thankfully, her dragon skin did work, and the fight began.
Come on, let's see what you're made of.
The battle was chaotic, to say the least. It was a mage bandit horde that was attacking. Spells were being thrown everywhere, and at times it was hard to tell who was friend and foe. Admittedly, not that Constantine cared. Blood was blood at this point.
No mercy, no prisoners. That's the way we do it.
The battle was victorious, and she even saw no Whiterun guard bodies, which made it even better, seeing as how she tried not to hit them, but couldn't really tell. She spoke with the captain, who praised her work and paid her nicely with coin and rations. As she looted the field, she was planning to head out with Vilkas right there and then. They would either walk the whole way or take a carriage to Dawnstar and go south. Vilkas, though, was much more level-headed, and even though she could tell the man wanted revenge, he had an idea. He said they should take a rest here in Whiterun, calm themselves down, and then head out the next day. Otherwise, the chances of being killed because you're angry are much higher. Constantine relented and agreed. They would hunt Kodlack's killers tomorrow. And with that, this is where we're going to leave Constantine for now. Angry, blood-fueled, and ready to destroy the Silver Hand, but for now, it'll have to wait. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching and enjoying the series. Please, of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It's the best way I know that you're enjoying the story. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. See you in the next one.